Look forward to 7-minute rounds.
It is the practice of the committee to swear in witnesses. Secretary Noem, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you will give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Secretary Noem, thank you for appearing today. As you know, I've been concerned for a long time about gain-of-function research. I commend the President and the administration for having an executive order to stop it. Some of the problems are in the definitions of it. You know, Anthony Fauci said if it's an animal virus, it can't be, it cannot be gain-of-function. And yet animal viruses can be trained to infect humans. And we think that's what happened ultimately with COVID-19. We think some of the dangerous research is going on at the lab controlled by DHS. Have you begun to look into this? I know Secretary Kennedy said that you and he will be going out, and I've requested permission to attend that as you go out to look at these labs. Have you looked at these labs any yet to get a feeling for what gain of function?
Mr. Chairman, are we going to have opening comments from the Secretary, or are we skipping that as well?
Oh, I've neglected that. I went right into questions without doing that. So let's
your
start
committee,
again.
Mr. Chairman.
Let's start again. Secretary Noem, you are. Well, great. You got a preview of my questions since I went out of order. But
That's all right.
The NBAC, the National Biodefense Analysis and Countermeasure Center out there by Fort Detrick, we're concerned they're still doing some dangerous research out there, and it needs more oversight. Do you have any update for us on that?
I do, and I want to thank the chairman for bringing a lot of history to my knowledge of this lab and the work that it was doing, and I appreciate Secretary Kennedy's input as well. Yes, we do have a visit planned in the future here in the next 10 days to 2 weeks with Secretary Kennedy to look into the work that this lab is doing and if it is appropriate for the Department of Homeland Security to be engaged in that. I think your concerns have created some oversight that is very helpful and will be helpful in making sure that they're doing correct research that actually is beneficial and not research that's been abused in the past.
So the president has banned gain of function, and as you and I have discussed, it's important that someone can simply come forward who disagrees and says, well, this doesn't meet the definition of gain of function. This is essentially what Anthony Fauci did when everybody said the research in Wuhan was gain of function. They were taking an animal virus, they were running it through an animal model with human lungs over and over again and adapting it to be infectious in humans. That is gain of function. So the people and personnel make a difference. And so what I would ask is, as you ask the career people out there who've been doing the experiments, you realize that their natural tendency is to want to keep doing what they've been doing. So I think it's going to take scrutiny, new people, new scientists, consultants to look at each one of these and say, don't just tell me you're not doing it. Give me a list of 20 or 30 experiments. What are you doing? And as an example of that, we've been sending records requests for 3 years and we got nothing until you came into office. And I hope that you will be looking at our records requests. They're all dated in time, some of them by 5 Republicans, some of them by Republicans and Democrats, and they were just routinely ignored. Have you had a chance to look at the chain of questioning here to see if there's anybody that was actually purposely obstructing us?
Yeah, so I thank you for asking those questions and talking about the follow-up to members of Congress, senators and representatives. My predecessor didn't respond to anybody. It didn't matter if you were a Republican or a Democrat. He didn't respond to your letters and your oversight. And I've tasked all of my people with changing that about our Department of Homeland Security, that we will be responsive to Congress. We've given you about 50,000 pages, I think, so far of information. We continue to get and gather more data and facts that we can return to you so you can conduct oversight. What I would say is between NIH and the Department of Homeland Security, there are no research projects ongoing right now today or that we've been able to find as far as projects they were doing together. We did have a couple of employees that were contracted for their specialty backgrounds that have done work over at NIH before, but that kind of oversight needs to happen. And I think it's important that we have an independent outside source that also is reviewing the work that they do.
As you're collecting the records, I would just ask that you ask the people, why wasn't it given before, and see if you can find where the chain of command ended. Were there people purposely not giving us the records because they really shouldn't be employed by government? Secretary Mayorkas has told us repeatedly that there was no censorship going on. The CISA wasn't doing anything. They weren't involved with speech. We know from the Twitter files they were. Have you ever uncovered any internal communications or activities that contradict their testimony with regard to the government being involved in censorship?
Yes, sir. We have literally found thousands of documents that have proven that they were involved in censorship and policing speech. So we will be unveiling these to this committee and making sure we're exposing what CISA was doing with a vast majority of its time of certain employees. And some of the discussion I think we'll have here today is about getting CISA back on mission and some of the reductions in staff that have been over there. And that's reflective in the fact that many of them were doing work that they shouldn't have been doing.
And I hope you'll look at our bill, the Risky Research Review Act. Administrations do a lot of things and a lot of good things, and then they go away when the next administration comes in. The good thing about this legislation, it would be a presidential commission of scientists to define on a continual basis what is or isn't gain of function, to rule on that. It's been voted by in a bipartisan way. It was a unanimous vote out of this committee. It's one of the few things in Congress we actually, I think, have bipartisan support for. So we hope the administration will look at that and consider making a public endorsement of that. Okay. That way we can make permanent the things you're trying to do to constrain gain of function. Thank you for that, your testimony. And with that, I recognize Senator Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.